they say waits for no one. That's why whatever you have to do, you do it quick. Imagine today is the 18th day in the month of December, year 2023. Oh, what a privilege to be alive and to be part of today's show. My name is Fola Shadeo Gidon, and I'm not here alone in the studio this morning. I've got with me my colleagues, Zaid.
Good morning. Beautiful Monday it is. Good to have you join us on this edition of AM Today for today. And of course, as we commence the week's edition, good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
All right, you know how we do. Well, we take you through the newspaper's headlines, then we go for a break. When we return from the break, this will be time for the discussion of the day. So you don't want to miss any part of this. Stick around. All right, let's see. The first newspaper headline we'll be giving you this morning is from This Day. Yes, what's up for this day? All right, from This Day newspaper, you have this purported court order surfaces ahead of ruling. More woes for judiciary. CUPP confirms development. Center uncovers plot to halt by elections. Wike defies Fubara's men. Returns to state. Frank wants Rivers DPO's death probe. All right, if you want details of that, please check page 5 of This Day newspaper for this morning. Still on This Day newspaper, education is greatest weapon against terrorism, says who? That's coming from Mrs. Remi Tinumbu, yes, the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I say education is the greatest weapon in fight against terrorism. Right at okay, that's a statement was said at ministry organized trade dialogue, and all that. Okay, past sector stakeholders say changing ownership of discos won't solve Nigeria's erratic electricity problem. And changing owners actually won't change it. I think changing how things work would make changes, eventually. All right, that will be all for today on This Day newspaper.
All right, from the This Day newspaper this morning, let's check what the leadership has for today. The Monday edition of the leadership newspaper is leading with this bold headline in the front page. Insecurity concern as Safe Schools initiative gets zero budget. UN, World Bank, EU express worry. Nigeria mom. You also find this rider. 168 Zamfara schools remain short. That's according to civil society organizations, that's CSOs. But you look at this development and you also begin to ask questions about how deliberate we are on this part. Perhaps is government looking towards another direction, say to ensure security is guaranteed in schools, aside from the Safe School initiative that is getting zero budget. Perhaps you check the page 4 of the leadership newspaper to get a comprehensive angle to that particular story. Rivers State Commissioner of Police Olatunji Disu training officers and men of Rivers Police Command on arms handling and amid political crises and festivities. That's the CP leading by example. You see that picture in the front page of the leadership newspaper. Police officers blindfolded, just trying to test their competence in ammunition handling, and that's in River State. Still in the leadership newspaper, NPA burst syndicate faking e-collab at ports. That's on page 19 of the leadership. Indigenous oil producers seek review of PIA. You also find something on health. Lassa 2023 says Disease Control Center. Rivers APC formally receives 25 pro-Wike lawmakers. That's also in the leadership newspaper. Kano, no deal to compromise court judgment. That's from the camp of the All Progressives Congress. It's on page 7 of the leadership newspaper. Fintech, Nigerians lose 51 billion naira to cyber criminals. Huh, that's huge. Nigerian banking customers have lost a whopping 51 billion naira savings to fraud. Even as cyber criminals are now targeting fintech banks customers to defraud them, and that's an exclusive revelation by the leadership. It says between 2019 and July 2023, banking customers lost 50.5 billion naira to banking related fraud, a situation that swapped last year and early this year. You check the details of that story, it's quite sad having to lose money to fraud, cyber criminals. But the leadership has detail of that revelation on page 7. Just above the nameplate of the leadership, Gaza war, Israel-Palestine commit to peaceful coexistence. As a fine Professor Uchegbu emerges Cambridge University president. You check the details of that story and more in the leadership for today.
All right, and from the leadership, we'll go to the Daily Independent. FG should prioritize taming inflation, not a $1 trillion economy. And writers to that story says analysts label $1 trillion economy target as unrealistic. Say decline in inflation will lead to increase in naira value. Right. We also have this on the Daily Independent. Nigeria can't move forward by suppressing Indigo. Says who? That's Abaribe. Right. You check the front page of the Daily Independent for details of that story. CUPP raises the alarm over plot to validate pro-Wike lawmakers. And right to that story says, pave way for Governor Fubara's impeachment. All right, the tussle in River State. Okay, you want to know more? Check page 6 of the Daily Independent for this morning for more on that story. And still on the Daily Independent on page 29, Serap sues INEC over failure to prosecute electoral offenders in Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo elections. Afenifere suggests fresh ways of checking rising insecurity. You find the suggestions on page 7 of the Daily Independent for this morning. And 2024 budget surpassed 18.3 trillion naira, our target. Senate tells revenue generating agencies. This is on page 6. And still on page 6 we have this. Pro-Wike Rivers Assembly Speaker rejects governor's assent to 2024 budget. Okay, and on page 7, 15,000 Lagos traders, okay, gets 50,000 cash support, right, as Governor Sanwo-Olu launches market palliative scheme. And finally, on the Daily Independent for this morning, we have this story. Owners of disused aircraft, their Keyamo, defy 90-day order. The writer says over 60 abandoned aircraft still litter nation's airports. Court orders restraining FG from relocating them. That's coming from, you find that details of that on page 9, I guess, of the Daily Independent for this morning. That will be all from the Daily Independent.
From the Daily Independent now to the Nigerian Tribune newspaper for today. The lead, the bold one in the front page of the Nigeria Tribune, Nigeria losing billions of revenue to free trade zone operators. That's according to Customs. It's on page 2 of Nigerian Tribune. You check this also in the Nigerian Tribune for today. There is no credible opposition in Nigeria. APC National Secretary is credited to have said that. You check the Nigerian Tribune also. This morning, here in Ondo State, LG accounts not frozen. Chief of Protocol not suspended. Ondo government denies reports. That's on page 22 of the Nigerian Tribune. Also in the Nigerian Tribune, in Lagos State, 15,000 Lagos traders to get 750 million naira as Sanwo-Olu launches market money. That's on page 8. But also in the front page of the Nigerian Tribune is the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, RCCG, Pastor Enoch Adeboye, praying for the new Shaun of Ogbomosholand, Obagandi Olaoye, at the interdenominational Thanksgiving service held in Ogbomoso on Sunday. But you find this headline just below that picture. New Shaun of Ogbomoso is destined to be king. That's coming from Adeboye. Still in the Tribune, the Nigerian Tribune, inflation. FG seeks repatriation of proceeds from oil and gas to bring stability to foreign exchange pricing regime. Convicted drug baron loses VGC mansion. SUV as NDLEA arrests grandma for drugs in Lagos. That's on page 25. Recovers South Africa bound 1.5 million tramadol pills at Lagos airport. Grandma. Okay. You check that story of the arrest of grandma for drugs in Lagos in the Nigerian Tribune. 10 years post-privatization, Nigeria's unreliable power grid pushes big customers away. That's coming from stakeholders. This government says it's also looking to bring more customers into the country. Don't abuse your IPPIS exemption. FG tells VCs orders. That's on page 5 of the Nigerian Tribune. The Nigerian Tribune also has a dose from the happening in River State. River State, PDP moves to end Fubara-Wike feud. CUPP alleges plot to validate defections of 25 assembly members. You also find this one, a warning of some sort. Don't pull the ladder you use in climbing. Wike warns. You check that story also in the Nigerian Tribune. NPA uncovers fake seaport e-collop syndicate at MPS Pre-Gate. You check those stories in the Nigerian Tribune for today.
Alright, from the Nigerian Tribune, we check the Daily Trust, or what the Daily Trust is holding in trust for us this morning. A Zamfara community under siege as bandits strike. Military vehicles, police outpost burnt. 3 persons killed, 16 abducted. State government to hire 4,200 security guards as a result. You find details of that on page 4 of the Daily Trust for this morning. And also on the Daily Trust we have this. What does the bank word want from Nigeria? What bank? What does World Bank want from Nigeria? I believe that this is a question from the observation of the bank, World Bank, saying that fuel is not selling at the market, price in Nigeria. That is, they said fuel will be sold at the dictates of the market forces. That right now the amount we're buying of fuel is not according to the market forces. So it ought to be 750 naira, and the labor union have spoken, and here in this editorial some other persons are speaking. What does World Bank want from Nigeria? Isn't the hardship enough? Why should we add more? All right, check details of that on page 13 of the Daily Trust for this morning. Experts, unions defer over FG's plan to restructure TCN. Right, so what is their deferring grounds? Check page 19 of the Daily Trust for this morning. Trust TV. Okay, that's an advert. I guess they have to pay us for that. All right, and still on the Daily Trust, you see these people on queue for cooking gas. Cooking gas. And what about cooking gas? A long queue. At cooking gas stations, especially in Abuja, and that is it. We hope that, as promised by the federal government, that there will be a reduction in the price of cooking gas, this season. And lastly, on the Daily Trust, we have this one. Afenifere raises alarm over rising kidnappings in Southwest. Right, this is on the starting from the front page of the Daily Trust. Yes, you'll be able to navigate through the pages. Ripples over appointment of 132 licensed officers for Kano local government areas and customer loyalty. Right? Okay. Then you see this one lastly. NMA gives FG 45-day ultimatum to review doctor's salary. Right, you'll find details of that on page 27 of the Daily Trust for this morning. Update from Daily Trust.
Okay, let's move away from the Daily Trust newspaper for this morning and check the Daily Sun. The Daily Sun is leading with a reality many Nigerians are having to cope with at this time. Naira scarcity, BDCs, SMEs, others groan as expert queries CBN. You also find a rider to that, crisis ending soon, says Apex Bank. Soon. How soon will that hand come? You also see the picture. I think we took it in one of the dailies earlier. The picture of personnel of River State Police Command training on arms and musket handling amidst current political crisis in the state and youth season at the weekend. You see that they're getting their hands dirty for work. Rivers G27 leader rejects passage of budget, accuses lawmakers loyal to Fubara of contravening laws. Purported order stopping sack of 27 lawmakers goes viral. CUPP alleges fresh plots to impeach governor. NLC dismisses notice of nationwide strike. That's on page 28. NLC dismisses notice of nationwide strike. You also find this convicted drug baron loses VGC mansion. We took that story earlier involving the grandma. But there's updates. Off-cycle elections. Serap sues INEC over failure to prosecute electoral offenders in Bayelsa, Kogi, Imo. You find that story in the Daily Sun. Tinubu hails appointment of Professor Uchegbo as London University president. Nigerians, others die as 61 migrants drown off Libya coast. That struggle to just, to make that move. You check that story also in the Daily Sun for today.
All right, from the Daily Sun, let's check the Noon Telegraph. On the Noon Telegraph, we have this aviation FG moves of 50% fare subsidy, and Minister Airline Operators hold strategic meeting. When you check page 3 of the Noon Telegraph for this morning, as travelers to fill forms, information will be sent to CBN for 50% ticket price refund. Alright, and still on the New Telegraph, we have this on page 4. Consumers paid 267 naira or 0.6 billion naira for electricity in the third quarter of 2023, and that's coming from NERC. Says FG incurred 204 billion naira in subsidies. That's for electricity. But one wonders, where was the electricity supplied? As we didn't see it, we didn't get to use it. So what happened? Okay, just one of those issues of wastages in the country. All right, check page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. the New Telegraph, pardon me, for details of our story. And Sanwo-Olu can't demolish people's properties maliciously, as Oba of Lagos says so, urges Indigo to respect owners of land. Fake news, no nationwide strike, says NLC. We're not striking, we're not going on strike. Details of that you find on page 5 of the New Telegraph for this morning. It's still on the New Telegraph as the story of the Nigerian professor, who's been appointed as the seventh president of Cambridge. So we have this on page 2. Cambridge announces Nigerian professor as seventh president. Uchegu's election synonymous with brilliance, ingenuity of Nigerians, says Tinubu. All right, and still on the New Telegraph, prison conjunction. Lawyers push for non-custodial sentencing. Right, say it forces a system. You find details of that on pages 14 and 16 of the New Telegraph. Right, on page 6, convicted Baron loses VGC mansion SUV, NDLEA arrests grandma for drug in Lagos, because we've read that before, and some other stories that has been read before. Right, that will be all from the New Telegraph for this morning.
All right, from the New Telegraph, let's check the Nation newspaper for today. Just above the nameplate, left corner, you find this headline: Death in the water, fears anguish over boreholes. You check that story. It's on page 2 and 3 of the Nation newspaper. What exactly is death in the water? Talking about fears anguish over boreholes. You check that story, page 2 and 3 of the Nation newspaper. You also find this one: Why I Didn't Stop Shanwo of Ogbomoso from Title, by Adeboye. In the front page, the bold one in the front page of the Nation, updates concerning the Federal Executive Council. That's the cabinet of the president. Lalong resigns from FEC. That's former Labor and Employment Minister opts to take Plateau South Senate seat. You also find what the man has to say. President Tinubu has accepted Minister of Labor and Employment Simon Lalong's resignation from the cabinet. His valedictory will hold at the next FEC meeting. So we're expecting to also find another face, another name, join the Federal Executive Council as a replacement for the now former Labor and Employment Minister Simon Lalong. Simon Lalong, who is also former governor of Plateau State. We check that story in the Nation newspaper. Also in the front page of the Nation newspaper, SON set to standardize CNG buses. Lagos inaugurates agro-produce hub. You find that story, this one, also in the Nation newspaper. NAFDAC moves against sales of measured milk, cereals in open markets. I think that's also a trend. It's already increasing, and NAFDAC says they want to move against that. Perhaps it also has some form of health implication, you say?
Yeah, it does. It may have some form of health implication, but I guess the economy is forcing people to resolve to that. Maybe if the economy is fixed, then NAFDAC would not have to clamp down in that direction. Okay, from that, let's check the Vanguard newspaper. The Vanguard, most of the stories we've taken, but this one, from page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. Clerk to CJN Ariwola: tackle corruption, malpractices in judiciary. There's a call from Edwin Clark to the CJN of Nigeria, that is the Chief Justice of Nigeria. And on page 8 also we have this one: 61 migrants, mostly Nigerians, Gambians, die in Libyan shipwreck. That's according to United Nations Agency. And on page 10, Bayelsa, Kogi, Imo polls, Osrc wants INEC to prosecute electoral offenders. Okay, and others we have taken, as we took other newspapers headline. Perhaps you take the sporting story and then we call it a wrap.
Okay, let's check sport news now. Punch Sports Extra is our next stop for the reviews, and you find in the front page of the Punch Sport Extra, Murphy Afghan worry. This striker emerges as major doubt for Ivory Coast after picking up a hamstring injury. This is one news, the lovers of this player would definitely rule. But of course, AFCON is starting in a matter of, say, weeks or days now. Perhaps this is also not going to be the last we'll hear, not just about Nigerian players, but players who will also have to, who are expected to be at the Africa Cup of Nations, who, because of injury, might not be able to make it. There's also an update. 10-man Red Devils hold Reds at Anfield. That's a clash of Reds. That encounter between Liverpool and Manchester United ended goalless. West Ham defeated Wolves 3-0. You also find other headlines. Cameroon's Mbomo ruled out. CAF once against the legal AFCON streaming. You also find Osime, Umar, Zaidu, no UOCL foes today. And Plateau's Hillary bags hat-trick in Bayelsa Road. Ancelotti not in rush for new Madrid deal. Adegoke Odusoya begin Okoya Thomas Cup title. You find that story also right there in the Punch Sport Extra. Of course, matches were also decided in the Nigeria Premier Football League. Can tell you Sunshine Stars played a 1-0 draw against Gombe United right here at the Akure Township Stadium. These are stories in the sporting world for you. Arsenal defeated Brighton 2-0. Can get more stories from the Punch Sport Extra. The Sporting Sun also out today.
Alright, from that sporting story, we call it a wrap on the newspaper's headlines for this morning. We'll take a short break, and when we're back, we'll be on the discussion segment, and you don't want to miss, because we'll be taking a look at the spate of bush burning, the consequences and all that, campaign against bush burning and response. Right? Stick around and don't go away.
I had promised to reform the economy for the long-term good by fighting major issues that has plagued our economy, ending the subsidy and the preferential exchange rate system were key to this fight. This fight is to define the fate and future of our nation. Much is in balance. Thus, the fact in our economy immensely profited a tiny elite, the elite of the elite, you might call them. As we move to fight the flaws in the economy, the people who grow rich from them predictably will fight back through every means necessary. But we are ready. Our economy is going through a tough patch, and you are being hurt by it, I know. The cost of fuel has gone up. Food and other prices have followed it. Households and businesses are struggling. Things seem anxious and uncertain. Understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there is not. If there were, I would have taken that route, as I came here to help, not to hurt the people and the nation that I love so dearly. What I can offer in the immediate is to reduce the burden of current economic situation, which has imposed on all of us, most especially on businesses, the working class, and most vulnerable among us. Already, the federal government is working closely with states and local governments to implement interventions that will cushion those socio-economic brackets.
Yes, so welcome back and thanks for staying with us on AM today. It's good to know you're there. As we promised that when we return from that break, we'll be taking a look at campaign against bush burning and a response should it happen. Our resource person for this morning is Mr. Olariwaju Ologun, and he's the head fire prevention unit on the State Fire Service Department. It's nice to have you on the show this morning.
Thanks for having me.
All right, our fire, they say, is a good servant, but a very terrible master. That is when it's out of control. And just in Lagos alone, about 54 markets were reported to have been affected by fire incidents just some few months into 2003. And imagine what that is. Well, sources of fire incidents varies and all that, but one of it is the issue of bush burning, because we have sometimes where fire from the bush burning activities, gets into residential area, commercial areas and all that. What exactly is bush burning?
Thank you very much. Like you said at the beginning of the program, you said fire is a very good friend and also an enemy. Fire is good because if there's no fire, I don't think we all be here today. Because we use fire to cook.
Okay. We could decide to eat raw.
We use fire to cook. So if you don't eat, I don't think we'll be here today.
Okay.
So fire is an enemy also, because if you fail to control fire, it will turn to an enemy. It can burn anything, resulting in loss of lives and properties. That is why it is an enemy. But it's a friend when it is being controlled. So, topic of today, bush burning. Bush burning is process of using fire to remove the natural vegetation that covers the topsoil.
Okay.
usage of fire to remove the natural vegetation that covers the topsoil.
What warrants this?
Thank you very much. You know, the major players in this regard are the farmers and the hunters.
Okay.
One, the farmers. In cultivation of lands, the process of planting, you have so many processes. One is the land clearing. You till, you plant your produce and its growth. If you don't clear the land, definitely there's no way you're going to plant. So that's why most of the farmers burn. They burn because if you burn, it will cover a vast area of land within a short period of time, not minding the positive side of it. Another one is the hunters. You know, the hunters, they go into the bush with the sole aim to kill animals. So they set fire into the bush so that the animals like the rodents and the reptiles, they will just rush out of their hideouts. So they kill you. If you go to the market today, a big grass cutter can go for like 20,000 naira. So you know it's a very good business too. If you kill snakes, big snakes too, they can sell it for as much as 30k. So the hunters go into the bushes to set fire on the bushes to get animals. Another one is to control pests. You know, those people that rear livestock, that rear animals, fly affects their livestock sometimes, and ticks. So the thing, if they set fire on the bushes, it will kill all the ticks and the likes. Don't forget that bush burning might be accidental. Like deliberately setting the bushes on fire. But accidental, you know, all these people that smoke, after smoking, they can just throw the remains of the cigarette. They just throw it. Another one is like this festive period, people tend to throw bangers, all these explosive. They tend to throw, and they just throw. They can throw inside the bush, and fire can occur. So those are the steps: the intentional and the accidental bush burning.
Some young folk that would say will banger, ignites after all. The moment it explodes, it makes that sound, and that's it. Does it have this sparking effect? Can it spark fire?
Yeah. Do you know if you hold a banger, if you throw it inside, if you spark it and throw it, it can actually burn anything. It can burn. You know, we have three elements of fire. We have the fuel, can occur. What I mean by fuel is not all these are PMS,
I understand.
not it's any combustible material like free burning materials, paper, woods, clothes. All those things are fuel in fire. But the layman outside, if in fire service we mention fuel, they'll be thinking it's all these are petrol and kerosene. No, it's anything that can burn freely. We have so many classes of fuel with class A fire, class B fire, class C fire. So anything that can burn is regarded as fuel in fire service. So if you throw banger into a bush that is very dry, you know this Harmattan period, everything is dry right now, the grasses and the weed. So once the heat is present, oxygen is present everywhere, which is the air we breathe in, and the fuel, fire will just occur. So don't think that if you spark a banger, fire can.
The situation that we continually talk about this issue, and it appears we still have an occurrence happening in society.
Thank you very much. You know, our farmers, majorly our farmers, they are still used to all these primitive methods. They think once you want to plant, the first thing for you to do is to clear your land. Like I said initially, at the beginning, I said you can cover a vast area of land within a short period of time. So the best method for them to use is to set the land on fire. So even if you tell them, they will tell you that we know it might be dangerous, but it's been part of us. So is different fora that we have organized. We've called them, we have admonished, we've told them that these practices are bad, but they tend to still remain adamant because they are used to it. Something they've been doing for the past 100 years or so. So for you to change the narrative is going to be very hard. But we keep on telling. Now what I'm saying, once you're born, it will even take a very long period of time for that place to get fertile again. But it's just because it's been inside of them. It's something that they are used to. So that's why they keep on doing those things.
Obviously, you have moments of engagement with the farmers, right? Sometimes.
Yeah,
But then, if you do, then do you also have times where you push for sanction for defaulters, having told them that this is bad and they contravene that? What do you do?
Thank you very much. Fire service, we have our core mandates.
Okay.
We have our core mandates. One is to fight fire,
Okay.
so as to save lives and properties. Other is to sensitize the public on tips or what to do to reduce the menace of fire or to prevent it from occurring. That is should be the role of Ministry of Agric majorly, both the federal and the states, because ours is to be called upon when there is emergency to go and fight the fire. But fine, we still do a little bit of sensitization, but it's not going to be deep like the Ministry of Agriculture, because the Ministry of Agriculture, they know the major areas where the farmers are in the state. So, and they can also get to them to tell them the major methods or the current methods of planting that do not require bush burning. It's not as if fire service will not do that, but it's not going to be very deep like the Ministry of Agriculture, like the ADPs and the likes. They are the one that can sanction if they fail to abide with what they have told them.
Okay.
As is you have to do the little enlightenment and sensitization for fire not to occur to. But I think it's majorly federal Ministry of Agric and state Ministry of Agric should rise up to the challenge of doing all these things. These things, they were doing it before. Like in the olden days, ADP will roll out programs for new planting seasons. They will tell the farmers, fine, you are going to a new planting season. These are the things you have to do to have robust yield. But these days, it's like they have not been doing that. So the spate of fire is still increasing also because they have not been doing that.
If that's be the case, if that is your observation, do you have any inter-relationship with these other agencies, that have similar responsibility in a way, with your establishment?
Like some few months ago, we had a meeting. Were present.
Okay.
Like the farmers, like all those ministries that are responsible. So over time, we've been telling them what they should help us to tell the farmers and the hunters and all the people that will reduce the menace of fire outbreaks. We've been doing that.
All right. They say prevention is better than care.
It's even cheaper.
Yes, and cheaper in instances like this. Yes. So, how do you teach people? What are the preventive measures, to bush burning?
Okay, the preventive measures to bush burning.
Yes. Let's start with the farmers, with the hunters. What are the alternatives, or for them, so that they don't engage in bush burning?
Like I said, we have so many methods. We have mulching. We have mechanized farming. Mechanized farming doesn't require you to burn. You make use of all those machines, like the plows, the munchers, the mowers. So if you make use of the machine, to till the land, use the machine to till the land. So you don't need to set fire on the land. So that's you cover the surface of the land with leaves. So when it decays, you get
It
robust
fertilizes the soil.
fertile soil. You get robust yield also.
So when it comes to the issue of, we talk about prevention and, some of the things that also predisposes the occurrence of this particular issue of bush burning. Going forward, you find sometimes, I wouldn't know if you've also had to battle one as a result of bush burning. Have you had?
Definitely, we've done
So,
many,
so
we've fought so many.
in some instances, before the response of the fire service, there needs to do or needs to know for whoever has, embarked on that journey and say, I regret I shouldn't have done it.
Are you talking about the farmers and
That
You have some
discovers.
areas,
Yes.
there are neighborhoods where there are houses, but maybe because there's just a land lying fallow and someone wants to plant, and these are some of the things that could, who knows, escalate, catch up with the roof of the next house, and boom, we have a major issue in our hands. So, what are they needs to know?
thank you very much. At your station here, we came to tell them our programs, especially as the dry season approaches. If our listeners are at home, listen to Orange FM and Alalai FM every morning, like 6:30, some 6:45, in the evening 6:30 p.m. and 6:45 p.m. You listen to our adverts on air. We tell them every time, stop burning bushes. I think radio is the best medium to disseminate information. We tell them every now and then, stop bush cars, do all those tips that will not allow fire to occur. I think it's just the best thing we can do. We cannot be going from house to house. That's why we approach the station to help us hear our information.
When the fire eventually comes, what should the person on ground do before your arrival?
That's our duty. Thank you very much. We have 3 stages of fire. One is the early stage. No fire starts big except bomb. Every fire starts very small. We have the early stage, the growing stage, and the fully developed stage. See, most of the time our people make this mistake. Once fire starts burning, they'll be looking for ways to fight the fire. And it's not going to be easy for them because they are not well trained in the business of fighting fire, except men at the station that are well grounded in the business of fighting fire. So when this thing occur, the first thing they have to do is to place a call to fire, because see, we cannot rule out the issue of fire outbreak. There's no way we're going to rule it out. We can only reduce it. But when it starts small, the first thing they have to do is to place a call to our station, so that. But there are so many things you can do as a layman to reduce fire. One is, we have 3 methods. We have the starvation, we have the smoldering, and we have the cooling. Like this year of bush burning, you can starve the fuel. What I mean by the fuel are the grasses and the brushes that have not yet burnt. You can starve them. You move them away from the fire that is burning. Once it gets to that stage, the fire will just go down. I think you are getting what I'm saying.
Of course.
Okay.
Another one is cooling. Usage of water to cool. So when fire occurs in your house, like for example in our studio like this, the fire is burning here. It's burning this rug. You can I'm just citing an example. I just remove the table from the rug. So you are starving the fire because you are taking away the fuel. So it will go down. But the best method is, if you are bold enough to do that, while doing that, place a call straight to our office so that men will turn out and help to fight the fire.
Though we're focusing on bush burning, but of course, just about yesterday we saw in the news that a TCN substation in Lagos, was engulfed by fire. You find shops also, getting engulfed by fire. So really, it's an opportunity that we have here now, and to talk about the issue of fire, we've spotlighted the issue of bush burning, and of course the harmful effects on the environment and even on us as a people. So for shops or businesses, for homes, this period is also a time when a little something can just ignite fire, what should also be the consciousness?
Like I said, in our units, we organize seminars and sensitization programs for major stakeholders, the petrol stations owners, the gas station owners, the farmers, the hoteliers, and the likes. See, there are so many tips you can do to reduce fire outbreak. You know, in Nigeria, you have this erratic power supply. You cannot rule that one out. NEPA can bring lights 20 times in a day and take it off again. So the best thing for you to do, if you know you are going to leave
there will be some slip of hair in there. But then to reduce it, to bring it to the barest minimum, I do not know what your organization, what do you do concerning those people that situates gas refill, points between residents or places that are heavily clustered, that there could easily be some leakage and then we have everywhere burnt them.
Thank you very much. In our units, we go out nearly every day. We have our utility vehicle. We have covered all the petrol stations and gas stations in Accra at the moment, and all those little retail shops. We used to tell them what they should do to avert fire outbreak. One is, like the gas station, we tell them that they should not allow anybody that wear high heel shoe to climb onto the platform. High heel. Because if you walk on the platform, it can spark, and it's true. So it's
That's simple.
very, very simple. Just little spark like this can cause fire outbreak. So we always advise them, don't use phone, don't make call on the platform. If you want to receive call, move away from the platform. Also the petrol stations too. We also always advise them to have fire buckets, extinguishers, and the likes, something that they can use to fight fire at the incipient stage, at the early stage. So we've been doing all these things. We've been doing it. If you notice now, the spate of fire outbreak in the past couple of months, because nearly every day we go out to tell them what they should do and what they should not do. So it's been helping. It's been helping. That's why I said prevention is cheaper and better than cure. It's been helping because of what we have been doing. It's been helping them.
Some would also say perhaps there's also a way that we can prevent any occurrence if we really do go by what the rule should be, or by taking conscious steps. Just like my colleague mentioned, the issue of citing petrol stations, gas stations, it appears to be just erratic at this time. The next building to you, or the next door, you have a petrol station or a gas station. Just sometimes, was it this year or last year, a petrol station around the Elisha garage, went off in flames, and you begin to wonder, are we really taking deliberate efforts to look at some of these issues? We know that urbanization is happening, where the people are coming in, some safety guidelines for all of this, or it is something that you can do anywhere. Have a gas station anywhere, have a petrol station anywhere.
Just to add, there are some mushroom gas filling stations, between shops. Behind them, you have a restaurant that uses open fire to cook. I
But
wonder.
you have a petrol station and a gas station.
Goodness.
See, thank you very much. There are standards. In between a petrol station, it should be minimum of 100 meters. That's the standard. If you build one here, the next one should be seen after 100 meters. So if you want to build a new petrol station, for example, you have to come to our office. You go for site inspection. We tell you, okay, this place is good to site petrol station, because we look at the nearest one. If it is 100 meters away, we tell that's one point. We look if there's no high tension, that's another point. We look okay to site, and we look at the buildings. But you see, some inspections that we've done, we tell them that this place is not okay for you to site petrol station. But you know, in our country, even if you do something, there are still some higher authorities. You have the DPR, you have the Ministry of Lands. That those are the bodies that are responsible for siting. Ours is just to go for the site inspection and tell them what we have observed. But they still take it to DPR, and some we have cancelled, but we still see the pedestrian springing up. So maybe the government, I know the government is listening, they should do something also to help the fire service. Maybe they should arm us very well, so that we'll be able to, it's only PR that has the power to seal a petrol station. But if they give us that power to that, you said you cannot build here, it has to be sealed. It will go a long way to reduce the springing of petrol stations and gas.
I was actually wondering the effects of your input in the siting of filling stations, because you could actually see filling stations, side by side, adjacent each other, and not observing any of these things that you have mentioned. Well, it's been nice having you on the show today, but before we let you go, we just want you to do a recap of the precautionary measures that should be taken, in this season, since we are prone to have more fire incidences, when it's Harmattan like this.
Harmattan is associated with dryness, so we have high flammability. Any little spark like this can cause fire. So we want to advise our people at home to be very, very conscious and cautious, not to play with fire anyhow, because any little spark like this will just cause fire. And we call on the various government agencies to do more in sensitizing especially the farmers and the hunters at this play with fire, not to set bushes on fire to kill animals. They can set traps if they want to kill animals, instead of putting fire into the bushes. And like I said, at home too, if you know you are not going to be at home, remove all your electrical appliances from the sockets. Don't play with matches, and do all those little tips that can reduce fire outbreaks.
All right, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really, I believe that people have learned from you, just as we have on the show this morning. I particularly like that part you said, don't put on high heels to the
platform.
It's
like the one you're wearing
like
now.
the one I'm wearing. So if I'm going to fill gas now, I have to wear something. All right, something different.
Of course, you mentioned the fact that call first. When it happens, call first. When it happens, reach out. How do I reach out to you?
We have our call numbers. Maybe I can.
Yes, please do.
080-324817 and 080-3231-4818.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Olugun Olariwaju, the Head Fire Prevention Unit on the State Fire Service Department. Thank you very much for coming on
Thanks
the
for
show.
having me.
Yes, our dear viewer, we'll take a short break now, and when we are back, yes, we'll be looking at something in the arena of politics. Don't go away.
long-term good by fighting major imbalances that has plagued our economy. Ending the subsidy and the preferential exchange rate system were key to this fight. This fight is to define the fate and future of our nation. Much is in imbalance. Thus, the effect in our economy immensely profited a tiny elite, the elite of the elite, we might call them. As we move to fight the flaws in the economy, the people will fight back through every means necessary. But we are ready. Our economy is going through a tough patch and we are being hurt by it, I know. The cost of fuel has gone up. Food and other prices have followed it. Households and businesses struggling. Things seem anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there is not. If there were, I would have taken that route as I came here to help, not to hurt the people and the nation that I love so dearly. What I can offer in the immediate is to reduce the burden of current economic situation which has imposed on all of us, most especially on business vulnerable among us. Already, the federal government is working closely with states and local governments to implement interventions that will cushion the pains of our people across socio-economic brackets.
Yes, you're welcome back, and it's nice to know you're still with us on AM today. I told you that when we are back from that break, we'll be taking a cursory look at the political arena. This time it's not in our state here. Yes, we're taking, I think River State is the bride of all discussion right now. We have every media eye on River State. And to discuss this with us, Rivers Politics and the media is Mr. Olalikun Oni. Is a public affairs analyst and a media consultant. It's nice to have you, sir.
Same here. Good morning.
Yes. Yes, the crisis in River State is taking a new turn now. You know, with 27 assembly members defected to APC, and so more seem to be going. And some people say it's the issue of godfatherism gone sour. Do you believe that too?
Well, part of the happenings in River State is also that we saw the 27 assembly members, getting a court order to proceed or to commence the impeachment process against Siminalayi Fubara, who is the current governor of River State. Well, if you ask me about if it's godfatherism or whatever, I think that's true anyway. Wike was speaking yesterday while he met with some traditional rulers in the state, and he said that you don't bite the fingers that fed you. Everybody knows that, it's a public knowledge that Wike was the one who, should I use the word helped, or installed or brought Fubara to power and all of that. So I think if you look at it very well, I think there's and all of that. But in my own opinion, I feel that the two leaders, Fubara is a leader, Wike is a leader. I feel that there's a way they would have managed the whole crisis, because at the end of the day, it is the people that will suffer most. Now that the crisis started, since the crisis has started in River State, I'm sure that there's no governance in place. The governor won't have time to sit down and say, okay, this is what we are doing and all of that. It's the end of the year. Almost all the state governments, even the federal government, are preparing for the next year budget and all of that. See the way Fubara passed the budget with 4 assembly members. We presented the budget to 4 assembly members, and then the next day, you assented the budget for 2024.
Is that wrong?
Very wrong, constitutionally wrong. You have 31 out. After presenting the budget, the way it works is that after you have presented the budget to the assembly, they go back, different standing committees peruse the document and the budget and all of that. The following day, you assented the document. Who perused the document you presented yesterday? Tomorrow? So, very wrong. And it is because of the crisis, because you don't have a standing assembly. You just wanted to do everything in a hurry and then just pass it. Nobody does that.
Yes, when you were talking, you mentioned that it's definitely a matter of agreement, a breach of agreement between the two.
Yes.
What could have been the agreement, and what if is it in the interest of the general public, of the interest of the people?
That's where the problem is, and that's where I have issues with the two leaders.
Okay.
What's the interest of the general public in all of this? And this is why, if you have people or the general public who are taking sides, will be to the detriment of the general public. Like I said earlier, governance will have stopped by now. January is coming, a new budget year, a new fiscal year is supposed to kickstart. You will find out that these issues will drag on, they will go to court. Both factions have been to court. The 4 members of the assembly, they are a faction on their own. They've been to court. Court gave them 2 of them, the speaker and the deputy speaker. The other side, the 27 now, the 27 now got a court order, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, to say, okay, we can kickstart the impeachment process of Fubara. At the end of the day, this will linger on. It can be for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. At the end of the day, the people don't get anything from the government. And this is where the issue is. I feel that whatever agreement they had, I'm not privy to the agreement, but I'm sure there was an agreement. Before Wike would have installed Fubara, there would have been, this is what I'm taking, this is what I'm taking, this is what between the two.
How do we clear this situation? Is there possibility of really settling this? At the point in time, the current minister of the FCT, Isham Wike, and Siminalayi Fubara, the governor of River State, had an interface with the president. The
Yes.
president seemed to have intervened, and
Yes.
you know, the news was that, oh, yes, they're not back together. You know,
Yes.
Fubara even apologizing at some point and all of
Yes.
that. We thought, yes, it's back and things are going as they were before the whole crisis started to raise its ugly head.
Yes.
As I stand today, I was reading a commentary by social commentator Festus Adidayo, and it says, as Fubara presses the nuclear button, when you look at the nuclear button, it has a tendency to go far.
Yes.
How can we really
And to
wish
the
this away?
detriment of the populace. At the end of the day, courts and these things are not constitutional, so to speak. At the end of the day, Wike will not come out and say, where for Wike to have said that you don't buy the fingers that fed you, that means there's something sinister. At the end of the day, Wike will not come out and say that I gave Fubara these conditions before I installed him as a governor. Fubara will not come out and say this was the agreement, this is why we're fighting. So at the end of the day, you will have these things like a secret between the both of them, and people were maybe privy to whatever agreement. At the end of the day, the solution will be a political solution.
So you see, when certain people, public analysts, will say that the politicians seem to be self-serving,
Yes.
because this agreement now, they probably would be something they could not bring to the public to
Yes.
discuss.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
ought to be the hope of
the
the
masses.
masses. We're having contra, injunctions
Injunctions,
for
orders
both
for
parties.
both parties,
Yes.
and at the end of the
So what's your view of this whole situation?
Well, for me personally, at the end of the day, we will definitely have a political solution. I think that's the way to solve this crisis. Just like you mentioned earlier, Fubara and Wike met with the president, and then it looks like the whole issue were resolved some weeks ago, and we had some peace to an extent, but only we don't know what happened again before. What did President Adida say?
The nuclear button.
Before Fubara pressed the nuclear button again and all of that. But I feel that at the end of the day, there was a sign. On Monday, I think last week Monday, the 27th, that was when the 27th decamped to APC, and we had news that even Wike was of the day, what you are going to have is a political solution. What is a political solution? People will call them, maybe elders of the party or elders of the country or elders from anywhere, traditional rulers will call them and say, what are the issues? These are the issues that cannot be discussed in the open. And that's the way. Courts cannot sort.
Does it seem that elders would wade into this matter
Definitely,
to,
they're
to
waiting
solve
already.
it?
They are. Rivers, elders, traditional rulers, elders, political elders, and all of that. Even the president in this contest is an elder, is a political elder, is a political leader. I'm sure he will call them again, wade into it, and at the end of the day, we will definitely have a political solution.
But I also concerned from some people, some Nigerians will say, it appears the issue of politicking now, it's really stealing the attention of the president more than it should, because if this state already becoming a trend, don't you see?
Well, what that also means for the nation is that you have a leader. Because just imagine, there was this Ondo State issue that was solved. Just imagine that that Ondo State issue continued to linger on. It will be to the detriment of the people. And we don't know what those crises might actually erupt to, which might even threaten the peace and security of the state. So for me, it is actually not bad if the president sees that there's an issue in a particular state, political issue in a particular state, and calls them. And the good thing is that Ondo, you can say that Ondo is an APC state. PDP is not yet an APC state; it's a PDP state. So that shows that the president is a father who who shows up as a father, who takes up his fatherly role, apart from apart from state, have the peace and stability that is needed.
Okay, looking at some of the things that some people allege to have led to the crisis, for instance, we wouldn't know how far that is true, and so that's why I
Yes.
wouldn't want to be assertive on that. Talking about certain percentage of the allocation to be given to the minister for the role he played in installing a Fubara, and the numbers of commissioner that he should also install in that government, and things like that. Do you now think that power, in this democracy, is still with the people?
Well, most of these things that we hear or that we read in the media, most of them, they are rumors. We've heard that at the beginning of the crisis, we heard that Wike demanded that I think 20%
Yes.
of allocation
Yes.
or 25%. I really can't remember the
I
figure.
think 20 was
20%
alleged.
of allocation. Politicians will tell you that power belongs to the people because they will tell you that it is the people that voted them into power. And if you look at it, we had elections, people went to the polls, voted, and all of that. But if we also look at it, the power does not belong to the people fully. I said this because of the crisis. So it is possible that if Wike had not chosen Fubara, the people might not have voted for Wike. What I mean is that if politicians have allowed the people to make their choices, it is possible that Fubara might not be the governor of Rivers State. That's what I mean. So if you look at it fully side by side, power doesn't belong to the people fully presently in this democracy.
So, but how can the people now, how
Good
can
question.
they take the
Having in this democracy? Very good question. Now, during campaigns, if you go out to anywhere, around anywhere, and I mean anywhere in Nigeria. So if you come, let me say I'm a candidate, he's a candidate. So I come and say that these are my precedents, this is what I've done in my little business, this is how I've grown, this is how I've built myself and all of that. These are my pedigree, these are my antecedents, these are my... Please vote for me. I'm from party XYZ. Please vote for me. When I get to government, I'll do very well. You know what the people ask? Give us money. These are the foundational problem of our democracy. So candidate C comes and say that, don't worry, each of you, I'm giving you XYZ amount of money. Just vote for me. People will say, oh, he's the best candidate. Very good man. Is this... People will not ask him, okay, you are giving... And this is how power returns to the people. Listen to candidates. What do they have to offer? If I know that I am so sure, you see what Fubara is doing. Fubara will fight tooth and nail. Now he will try and bring the people to him. But if you look at it, was it the people that installed Fubara? It was Wike, and that's the truth. Wike installed Fubara. Like I said earlier, if Wike had not installed Fubara, if you had left it to the people, Fubara might not be the governor of
The
Rivers
people
State today.
voted.
You said?
The people voted.
People voted how? How?
No,
What was the process?
elections was
There was. But what was the process? And that's the process I'm talking about. So we need to check the process. And the foundational problem of our democracy today is that there's so much inducement. Our democracy is expensive. Very, very. Campaigns are expensive. Who are the ones collecting the money during the campaigns? The electorate.
Particular point. And when you take a look at some other states across Nigeria, you also find some form of similarity in the relationship between predecessors and the current governors. Even take look at the long history of those who have even had to be in position of government.
Yes.
In some states, you see that there's always usually a relationship, and now we have this crisis situation in our hands, and that's also to say perhaps another state is also warming up, brewing
Some crisis might be brewing
for this kind of
yes.
for this kind of situation.
Yes.
How do we also get to address some of these issues before they even break out?
Well, just like I said at the beginning, that the two actors in the Rivers presently should have managed well. And you see, at the end of the day, all these issues brewing, you and I doesn't have a part in it. I cannot talk to Fubara. You cannot talk to Wiki. Have the love for the people, because at the end of the day, it is the people that will suffer all of this. Federal allocation will not stop, even if this crisis lingers on for 6 months. Federal allocation will keep coming to the state. The IGR of the state will not stop. People paying taxes, they will keep paying the taxes. But how will it be utilized? We know that when there is a crisis like this, the rate at which governance goes on reduce drastically. So we suffer. So people will pay tax, no dividends. The federal allocation will come to the state, you won't see the effect. So at the end of the day, they should just have the love of the people at heart and see to it that beyond the crisis, they should go just beyond the crisis. Again, the two actors should find a way to manage this so that the people will, reap the dividends of democracy. And at the end of the day, solution into candidates. And at the end of the 4 years, if you tell me that you are going to do this, you are going to turn around the fortunes of this state, and at the end of the day, you did not, 4 years, we still have the power to say, go back to your house. We'll listen to another person. But in a situation where you have to collect money before you vote, these are the things that leads to what we have presently.
In fact, I just love the way you rounded it off there, that because in the situation where you have to collect money before you vote, you want to be induced before you vote. This is what happens. When the crisis happens, the allocation do not stop, all the taxpayers keep paying, and then what you have, no development, nothing, and the politicians will still be having their cut and their lives going on smoothly. So you see, to return power to the people, to return that's power that you have. We continue. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Oni, for coming on the show today, and we really appreciate your thoughts that you've shared with us. I believe next time we call on you, you answer a call.
Thank you.
All right, dear viewer, this is Alpha. We'll be going on the show for this morning. And from Zaid?
It's Monday. Do make it count. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes, it's Monday, the beginning of a new week. And you know what? Several amazing things can still happen to you before the year runs out, before the week runs out. So, chase after something so you can achieve something. My name is Folashade Ogidon, saying, have a pleasant week.